Alright, so in this video we're going to be going over the Pepe Tools rolling mill that is made only for wire, and how I was completely wrong on what I thought about this. So let's get started. So this is the 160mm rolling mill from Pepe Tools for making wire. And as you can see over here, I have a combo rolling mill. This is a 130mm, and it can also make wire and deal with flat sheet. Originally, I thought this would be the only thing I would need, and why would I need one just for wire, since this makes wire also? Well, I was kind of wrong after using this and seeing all the things that it can do. So let me explain a little bit. So if you look at my combo rolling mill, you can see that it has the ability to make a bunch of different square wires, and then you can take those square wire and turn them into half round. Well, that's all I thought I would ever need, and then you would need a draw plate to make other shapes and stuff like that from your square wires and kind of just force them through and cut them down to what shapes you needed. Well, now that I got this new one, it cuts out a lot of the extra work of even buying the drawing plates, seeing that you can get workable wire directly off of this. You can still use them, of course, to get the exact sizes you need, because there are limitations to what sizes you can get out of this, but if you can work around these perimeters, this is all you would need for wire, and that's it. So if you take a good look at the rollers themselves, there's a lot of stuff going on here. You can make square wire from here down. You can also make an oval type of wire here that is made for like comfort fit rings and stuff like that. You can make round wire in this. So that means you don't have to take your square wire and pull it through a draw plate to make it round. You can also make bezel wire in here, which was very interesting to figure out how to make that work properly. The other thing you can make is triangular wire and some half round. So it's pretty versatile in all the different things. This is really good for making all the stuff to make rings, but it also makes a lot of materials for making other stuff. So as an example, this ring right here, I made in less than 30 minutes from scrap silver, and then ran it through the roller mill to get its shape, and then used a ring bender and soldered it all together, polished it up, and it was good to go. So that's actually pretty quick to make one of these and get it all to a pretty much finished spot. But before you're going to be able to use a rolling mill like this, or any rolling mill in general, you have to have ingots. So you have to make some ingots like these. And these are all just from scrap silver of mine. And I'll show you real quick what I use to make these. So to make your actual wire ingots, there's some options for you. You can actually use a ingot mold like this one that has different sizes for wire, and it also makes sheet metal at the same time. You can use something like this too, that looks like it would only make sheet metal, but you can slide this and make it into a square, and this will work inside of the rolling mill. But you're limited to the size, because it's only going to be as tall as this at max. So you can get a bigger one, so you have longer ingots. So it's really up to you on what you want to deal with and what you want to use. So you're also going to need a crucible like this to melt down everything for pouring. You're going to want to watch my video on this that you'll find up here at the top of the screen, and it'll go through how I recycle my scrap and just pour ingots basically. You don't need the fire bricks that I have here, but it's helpful for not burning your area if anything spills, or just heating stuff. These like to hold a lot of heat, so that's nice when you are doing stuff over and over again. And also I use these for annealing stuff, because you do have to come back and anneal things as you're rolling them through. So another important thing is a torch. I'm using a Smith's little torch with a rosebud end on it. So this will melt metal in a couple minutes, and it works really well. You're not going to be able to use just a normal like propane can or a butane torch to do this. That being said, you can use propane if you have a propane oxygen setup, or if you have one of the really big propane torches that put out a ton of heat. Then you'll be able to melt your metals. But I suggest either using the oxygen acetylene setup, the oxygen propane or using a MAP gas setup, and it'll take care of silver no problem. If you don't want to deal with all the torches or any of that and you like your little butane ones, or you just don't want to spend the extra money to upgrade to a better torch, you can get a furnace. And this basically just has a little carbon crucible in it that you fill up with your metals and pour them out. It takes about an hour for this to get up to temp, but it stays at temp for a very long time. If you're doing massive amounts of metal melting, you're going to want one of these. Or if you're doing a lot of casting, this is probably going to be your go-to. So when it comes to actually making your wires, you need the ingots that actually fit in here. Like I said, you can make them square or round like these ones, but they need to fit whatever one you're putting it into. If you try putting this into something that is too small for it, it will cut the edges down and start fraying all over the place. So to make them the right size, you're going to want to start with square wire and shape it down to something that is more manageable for your others. Some of the bigger ones, like the large triangle, you could probably just get away with just putting this straight in there with little bits of problems on the sides that you can just file off, or even the comfort fit ones, this will fit directly into that. So let me go through and do some square and make it so we could use more of these, and then I'll also do a comfort fit one. Alright, so here it is after going through the first size, and you can see that it is now really bent and it is more or less a square. You're not going to get perfectly sharp edges on these without actually drawing them through a draw plate, so if you need things to be perfectly square, you're going to have to still do that. I get away with using these, and they get less and less noticeable the smaller you get. So now I need to anneal this before going on to my next one to soften this metal because it's completely work hardened now. So I'm just going to take the piece and put it here on the fire bricks and heat it. So right after that, I'm going to put it directly into my pickling solution. And then just rinse it off. So it's going to come out all white like this. You're going to want to clean it off of all the water because you don't want to get that on your rollers or you'll start rusting them. Another very important thing is do not ever get pickle on your rollers. It likes to eat through steel and that's what they are, so it'll ruin them pretty quick. So here we go, we have another size down. So again, we need to anneal it and then go to the next size. So once we get everything all done, they usually have a little bit of a wiggle to them, and we want them to be as straight as possible. There are a couple ways to do this, but for the most part I just hammer them until they are flat and straightened out. And I just use a steel bench block and a rawhide mallet, and I make sure to anneal these before doing this to make this easier. Also, be very careful when you're hammering stuff. You can hit your finger and get a nice little blood blister like that. So there we go. We have both the wires that we just made much flatter. So like I was saying, this is the comfort fit one. You're going to have to clean up the edges on this because they're not 100% perfect. If your wire is exactly the right size, it will basically pinch off to right here and make this clean. But if you do something like this, you can just clean this off with a file and be good to go. Like this is a better example of that same type of wire, but with the proper sizing. And I did go through and make examples of the different shapes that it can make. So this is a triangle. Here's the bigger and smaller square. It's not the biggest or the smallest of them, but you'll notice that this one has a clean edge and this one doesn't. It's just because I cut this one off to clean it up, which you'll do on most of your wire. This is the smallest one that it makes for square wire, which is like a 16 gauge. And here is the bezel wire. This comes out pretty nice, and I can see how I could use this on a lot of different things. And this is the half round, which I actually use to make this ring. And last but not least, the actual just round wire. So here's all of them side by side, and of course there's multiple sizes of each one of these. So you have a lot of options when it comes to making things using this type of wire. And like I said, making rings with all of this would be really easy and really interesting shapes that you can make. So yeah, you just basically have to use your imagination. So that's pretty much what it can do. It can make wire, which is great because that's what it's made for. And it does a good job at it, and it's pretty easy to actually turn. Make sure that you mount this thing down just like any other roller mill. I've spent enough time not doing that with others, and I could see the night and day difference between mounting them down versus trying to struggle and hold it and do everything. So make sure you have somewhere to mount it. So this is a great tool for people that have the ability to recycle their old metals or just be able to buy in bulk different silvers and turn them into whatever you need. Because it is a lot cheaper to buy casting grain or silver bullion than to buy the pre-made wires and the pre-made sheet metals. And over time you'll save a ton of money, but up front you're going to have to shell out the money for the equipment to get this. So it's really up to you and depending on your budget. This does come in over $1,000 for this rolling mill. They do have a smaller version of it that doesn't have as many wire options, but like I said, it's going to be 100% up to you. I'll have links in the description to everything I showed in this video, and if you would like to purchase anything from them, it helps out my channel. So let me know in the comments down below if you're looking into getting a mill, and if you are, which one are you looking at? If you found this video helpful whatsoever, leave a like, and subscribe to my channel. I try to put out new videos every week. So that's it, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.